everyone. My name is Julia Teschon, and my husband and I attend the Glen Rock campus. As we continue our study in James, we come to chapter 3, verses 13 through 18. Verse 13, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth, for such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice." James here is contrasting two types of wisdom, and this was the first one. This is worldly wisdom. When I first read this, I wondered how these two sins could end up producing every evil practice. That's a strong and all-encompassing statement. Perhaps the key lies in the word harbor. The English definition of the word means to keep secretly in one's mind, to give a home to. So if we give a home to bitter envy and selfish ambition, if we secretly protect these sins or lie to ourselves thinking they're really no big deal, that sin and the poison it produces will infect our hearts and our minds, and even our thinking. We might begin to just justify certain behaviors that we wouldn't have before. Bottom line, when we're given over to this kind of worldly wisdom, it can lead to all kinds of sinful behavior. Take, for example, King Saul in 1 Samuel. He became so consumed with jealousy over David that it made him paranoid. He was thinking everyone was against him. It consumed him because all he did was chase David all over the countryside for years, trying to kill him. It ruined his family. He gave David's wife Michal to another man. He attempted to kill his own son. And then at one point, he murdered 85 of the Lord's priests, then slaughtered all the men, women, and children and animals in that same town of Nob, all because the priest had given David and his men some bread. And at the end of his life, he sought out counsel from a witch. So we can truly see in this example how Saul's bitter envy of David produced all kinds of evil in his life. Now, in contrast to this type of worldly wisdom, James goes on to describe true wisdom or godly wisdom from heaven. Verse 17, "But the wisdom that comes down from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness." Wow, what a contrast. It's antithetical to worldly wisdom and not at all natural to us. Yet James has told us that it is ours for the taking if we but ask God for it. And he promises to give it liberally in chapter 1, verse 5. The fruit of this kind of wisdom is righteousness. A wonderful example of this type of wisdom in action is found in another person who interacted with David, Abigail. In 1 Samuel 25, after learning of her husband's ill treatment of David's men, Abigail rushes to intercept David and his men on their way to exact revenge for Nabal's insulting behavior. When she meets David, she bows to the ground, she apologizes, she takes full responsibility for her husband's wrongdoing. Then she reminds David how the Lord has kept him from taking revenge against King Saul, and how she wants him to keep a clear conscience by not seeking revenge against Nabal. She wants him to enter his kingship free of this burden. David responds to this godly advice and immediately gives praise to God for sending her and relents of his intended revenge. Her godly wisdom at that moment results in protection for herself, her household, for David and his men, and her wicked husband. David is kept from sinning, and she and her household are spared. Abigail makes one of the most beautiful appeals for mercy, forgiveness, and peace. She truly was a peacemaker that sowed in peace that day and reaped a harvest of righteousness. So how do we avoid this evil-producing kind of wisdom that comes so naturally to us, that's in our culture, that's in the lifestyle, and also based in demonic activity? And how do we cultivate this peace-making wisdom? Well, I think it goes back to that idea of harboring. What are we harboring? What's the thought process? What is wallpapering our mind? What are we protecting? We need to allow the light of God's word, his searchlight, to come in and identify those little weeds of envy or jealousy, those little weeds of selfish motivation that constantly crop up. And then daily we need to ask for God's wisdom. Simply ask, believing that he will give it to us. I know it's something I pray daily and I need moment to moment. I love these verses in Proverbs 4:23 through 27. It says that so well. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free from perversity. Keep corrupt talk from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly in front of you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet and be steadfast in all your ways. Don't turn to the right or left. Keep your foot from evil. I hope this has been a blessing to you and have a great day.